Yes, Ben.
Hang on a sec. Let me push us live. So, if I asked you a question to name your top 5 favorite TV shows, what would they be?
Okay. Let me wait. I'm almost done with getting the audio up
All right.
because this is good podcast stuff. Ben,
I'm going
this is the
somewhere with this. So,
kind of thing people want to hear. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. Am I recording? I am. Ben Lawrence.
Spaghetti.
So, full disclosure, we started the video feed before I started recording for the podcast.
Yep.
And you had just asked me
Yeah.
if you were to ask me my 5 favorite TV shows, what would I say?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know that I'm probably going to get something wrong, and I'll be like, oh, no, wait, I like this, too. But here's what I'll go with. Twin Peaks.
Okay, hang on. I want to stop you right there.
Oh, yeah.
So, today, we're going to be joined by, if he's there, Eric Ray Anderson.
Oh!
E-Ray.
Okay.
And that's not it. We're also going to be joined by his Twin Peaks cohort, John Paulsen,
John Paulsen.
who's coming up in a minute.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, my gosh, E-Ray. Sir.
Hi, buddy. How are you?
Hey,
I am so good. Hey.
you guys, you hear me?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know you personally.
All right. So
Do I don't.
before we get too far into this,
This is crazy. I've gone insane.
E-Ray. So, E-Ray, we've known you forever. You were on the Twin Peaks revival. We've wanted to talk to you forever, and you said I should, if we do that, I should bring my friend John Paulsen on because he's also in the show. So, E-Ray, why don't you give a brief, just briefly introduce John for us? Because, hello, John. We've never met either, I don't
Hello,
think.
John. Yes. Oh my. I'm freaking out, Ben. Ben did not tell me this was happening.
Right. Right on.
Just to be
great.
clear.
So John has done a lot of theater in town back in the day, but in more recent years has been concentrating very seriously on camera work. And I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that John and I really know each other from auditions. We certainly didn't work together on anything before we started hanging around audition rooms together for commercials, and 98% of the time it's for the same role. So my experience, I'm not aware of John having the experience of having me get the role, but usually if it's down to just me and John for a particular role, well, John gets the role. But anytime that there is more than one option, we tend to get involved together, and so this is kind of not our only experience like this. But we didn't just he's not just someone who was also in Twin Peaks: The Return in part 14. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, it was 14. Yep.
14. Is that we were in the same scene together. And so here we were, people who already knew each other, already, really liked each other's company. Being able to, and of course, to local, it's intimidating to be on that set, and it was great to have a buddy.
I have to say that the scene that you're describing or that you're indicating is my favorite scene from Twin Peaks: The Return. It is so. It is like, okay, so episode 8 is crazy and nuts and everything like that, but it's long and protracted crazy and nuts. Whereas that scene, which I know we're going to get into it, but if you haven't seen Twin Peaks: The Return, go watch that first. What are you doing listening to this? Go and see it. It's available on Blu-ray is how I own it. I also watched it when it was on Showtime. But go see that first, because what I'm going to be talking about isn't going to make a lot of sense. And it may still not make sense after you see it, but you'll have a better shot at it.
I think it's true that our scene is not self-explanatory, but it is momentous.
It is, yes. Yeah. And it just the visceralness of it is incredible. I have a story about this, and anyone who's listened to the podcast will probably get this. When Ben and I were doing the podcast as Twin Peaks: The Return was filming, we knew that you were in it, and you had given an indication of the episode you thought you might be in. But then it turned out that it got expanded, so the episode that you were in actually got pushed out further. Is that correct? Am I close?
Yeah, John was following a little closer, because I remember we went through this thing. Now, one thing I want to be clear about, because one of the things that's fun to talk about is the ridiculous amount of secrecy that went into. And so I can guarantee you that if you knew I was going to be in it, shooting had wrapped a long time before that. Because
absolutely. It was.
And there's a bunch of fun stories that are related to that.
And I want to be totally clear. It was when it was on. So you hadn't broken any secret. It was already. We were basically. I would go. I don't think I saw him this week. I don't think it was. I think maybe it was him. Like, when I actually saw the episode that you were actually in, I was like, okay, no question that's him. But for a while, I was looking at, like, every single person who came on screen and went, maybe, but no. So, keep going.
I could totally...
It was a fun lottery of watching every week and trying, this show, it's impossible to extrapolate what's going to happen, especially considering episode 8. And so... I watched every week, and I actually went down to the premiere, thinking it may be that episode. But then episode 13 happened, and as it went further along, I'm like, let's just push it to the end. It's fun to, I, along with everyone else, did know. And so I watched episode 13. Towards the end, Grace's character, runs out of vodka. So I'm like, okay, my friends are getting anxious about it. I'm like, I think we're go time in episode 14. She's out of vodka. I know where she's going. So, and it turned out to be true.
She's going over to my place.
Oh man. And let's talk about Grace for just a second. My goodness. Everything I see her in, amazing. I speechless in that performance, for sure. Yeah. But like, even back in Wild at Heart, anything that she's appeared in. The
Officer and a Gentleman. I just rewatched. She's an Officer and a Gentleman.
And the David Lynch. Is it Inland Empire? Am I getting that right? Am I saying it right? The speech when she shows up at the house and she invites herself in and she talks about how she lives just up the road. Just that whole thing is so unnerving. Speaking of unnerving, the scene that you guys are in. Forgive me for asking this because it's crazy. Are you the guy that is on the receiving end of what happens? Is that the role that you played?
Yeah. Yes.
Because you seem like such a nice person as I'm talking to you. And I was like,
generally, I hope that someone meets me before they see that scene because, I even my sister took issue with it, so I had to smooth things out there.
The fact that I get a chance to talk to you is amazing because this is one of the things I thought about when I was watching it. You were as bad as you had to be, but that had to be tough, like just as a human being. So that's amazing. That's amazing to hear, and that's incredible. Again, Ben, you're a great guy. I would have any amount of research.
I'll tell you the greatest acting compliment I will ever receive in my life. I had attended a fan festival for Twin Peaks, and one of them approached me and said, I got to say, you're in the David Lynch Hall of Fame of creepy characters.
Oh, and,
I said, you know what? I think I'm good to go. That's it.
Absolutely. Still felt good when what happened. And that's what you have to have in a scene like that. So, really quick, you mentioned you were at a fan festival. Did the thing that was going to happen at Graceland end up happening, or was that a COVID-19?
That was COVID. I think it was going to happen in April, so it just barely. Yeah.
Wow. That's so. Yeah, it's. I hadn't really thought about it but this thing has put
another
everything
casualty
on pause. Yeah. So. Can we say spoilers for Twin Peaks: The Return? Can we get to that spot?
Yeah, I think there's been enough time that has passed.
Okay, so tell me if you can, and this is for both of you. The sort of effects that were used in it, kind of lo-fi, it's really really great. Maybe some in-camera stuff. How much did you know about what you were going to see in the end product versus what was being filmed? Like, did you know how it was going to play out, or was some of that added after the scene was shot?
Before John answers, I'm going to say a little something because he's the guy that has all the information you want. But I just felt so lucky to have such a worm's eye view of this crazy practical effect. I don't think John can say whether they added anything with cameras. It was, as far as I could tell, it was 100% practical. And if we don't care about spoilers, that should be what it actually is. But anyway, I just felt like, I'm so glad it's not me that's going through that. But I'm so glad I'm here.
A lot of it for me, for one thing is I can't quite recall, and Eric might recall more. He had the same size as me, the same scene. I think he had the same amount. There's a description in the script, and it describes something generally horrifying, right, that Grace transformed into. And I believe David might have said a little bit more about it, but in the actual filming of it, it was just Grace. And this is what I'll have to say about Grace Zabriskie as an actor, and I'm sure Eric felt this while he was there too. Just,
oh man,
what an honor it was to be in her presence. What an incredible talent that she is, And I came in, of course, excited to be working on Twin Peaks and doing all this preparation for my character. And the one note that I did end up getting from a rehearsal was, John, I think just your guy's a little less intoxicated, So I had to tone down how much the trucker had. And then I very shortly came to realize in all my preparation, I looked at Grace and I realized, it's kind of an actor's cliche, but it was all there. All I had to do was look at Grace and disappear into the terror and the beauty and the lovingness that she is. And I feel that she really embodies that of what Twin Peaks is. And so, quite frankly, it was all there. And I just looked at her and just talked to her and worked. And that's really, what it came down to. And so, I'm very fortunate to be working with her.
Very cool. Very cool.
But let's talk about that effect, John. Let's talk about that.
And she actually did, bite my throat, which was fun.
Okay.
But yeah, the effect itself, I think I was as shocked as anyone, as far as what the final product, I think for this show, which was a good quality of the show, creative aspect of the show, was that they did minimize the CGI, throughout it. And so, I did definitely have an application that was actually happening on my throat, on my chest, blood's coming out,
Wow.
that actually
took
place, but as far as what Grace went through, that was added,
Yeah. And did you get, this is, I'm a big fan of the lore. Did they have any indication, like the spirit finger being black, whose teeth were they, all that kind of stuff? Did it mention in the script at all exactly what was going on, or did it just say she transforms into something and left it? How much detail did it go into?
The thing about that is that I am a fan, of the show. I haven't, I probably watched it maybe once through back in the day. So had they mentioned those things, it necessarily wouldn't have meant anything to me, to react to. So, it was, Well, so and
there's so much stuff that got, you have the show, right? And then you have, in the missing pieces video that came out, there was some stuff from Fire Walk With Me that got cut, larger conversations and stuff. There's a lot of really esoteric alchemical dialogue and things like that they go into, which is pretty great. And then they embrace it fully when the return comes in. So, just again, we talk about just all the different forces that are aligning and things like that. And you happen to be the recipient of, this great darkness.
He won the lottery.
Yeah, exactly. And again, E-Ray, you're there going, well, it's not me. It's a brilliant thing. I
want to say, go ahead.
Yeah. No. You go.
I have a pretty clear memory of what the script actually said, and really the whole process was so incredibly protected, and that when we eventually did get our sides, which we had to sign away our well-being for the rest of 3 generations down.
Now
to do not say anything about it at the time, right? And so we had to
frightened about this kind of stuff. So I want to make sure this is something you can talk about now. Yes.
Yeah.
Like I'm not asking you to. Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to make
yes.
sure.
And because I mean, it's all out there, and we've agreed. We're not worried about spoilers for warning our audience for the 80th time. But what happens in it is this description of her slowly reaching when John is such a worst case scenario person to meet in a bar, right? Worst case. And I mean, I was actually shocked by the pages themselves when I got them. I went, what the hell is behind all this? And although, I've met guys like that, and I just thank God I hardly ever have a single word to say to him.
Yeah.
But so he's as bad a person to her as you can possibly be. And there's this wonderful description of how she gets very, very serious and reaches up her hand and opens it across her face and hinges the front of her face off. So it's like a door made out of face, and some description of what you see in there, but didn't tell you anything about what it implied or what it meant or how it relates to lore or anything like that. I can't remember exactly what that said, but then it explained that she, suddenly bites the guy's neck and it pulls most of his neck off and he falls off his chair and bleeds out. And it just said those things were happening. And so that's what they did. And the first thing was there was some stuff that needed to happen. They timed out the day so that they, I was really there. I just was there to get her a drink and then FO to the other end of the bar and pretend to talk to extras. And because I was the bartender, just to explain, I was the bartender. And I have a very funny David.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. And so Grace comes into a bar. She's run out of vodka, and that's a bad thing. And so she goes down to the neighborhood bar and she orders a drink from me. And John just is an awful person to her, and then this horrible thing happens to him, which he deserved. And but they had to time it out so that they had to film a bunch of stuff, film all of John's real scene with her until they felt they had it, and then John had to go away while they picked up other things and get into this makeup. So these guys, they made it look like I was standing 5 feet away from him, and it made it look like an inch or two of neck had been removed from him when I knew that neck was actually there. And it was absolutely incredible the way they did that, over the top with makeup by building out prosthetically and then making it look like that's the starting point for the whole. and then he had pipes running through his thing. And I don't know. Tell some more stories, John.
Well, John, how long did that take to apply?
Yeah,
I think Eric, was that like 3 or 4 hours? I think it took something like that.
I think so. I think they had to do without you for 3 or 4 hours. And I don't remember exactly. That's what I don't remember.
What's that?
What do you do for that amount of time?
You just sit there.
You sit there and the other people that are in the hair and makeup are telling stories, playing music, and it's entertaining. I mean, I know Eric has had some roles too where he's gone through some applications, and it's a part of the actor's job, and it happens more often than not. We did a number of Z Nation episodes, and where there's zombies and mayhem and blood and all that, and so you just kind of go into this mode where you sit and relax, and it's really relaxing. It's nice to be worked on and get this attention, and you're witnessing the magic of it happen right before your eyes too. So you just relax.
When you was that part of the audition? When you auditioned, did you know that you were going to have to go through this whole thing?
No, it's funny. Both Eric and I, we got this notification that there's this big secret project, right? That's going to be happening in Washington State. I had maybe heard rumor that Twin Peaks was starting up again, so I kind of had it in the back of my mind. And the audition process was really just going in and talking to the casting agent. And I told a story that happened to me that summer on I-5 near Tacoma. It was a good story. Strange story.
Hey, wait a second.
What's that?
Can you let us know? Can you tell us the story?
Well, yeah, it was.
Yeah, what kind of story gets you cast in Twin Peaks?
Exactly.
It really just involved driving behind this Jeep, and I could see the rear wheel wobbling, and it eventually came off of this Jeep that was in front of us, bounced over to the other side of the interstate. A car hit it and shot this tire like 50 yards up in the air, so we're sitting there looking at this tire in the sky, and what kind of havoc is it going to wreak when it comes down? I'm driving, like, trying to judge where this sucker's coming down, and eventually, I swerved a little bit, barely missed it, and that's the small version of the story, but it was just kind of this remarkable moment of this tire and, the potential that could have happened. Everybody was safe, fortunately, but, and I'll never forget the sound of that tire hitting a window and just boom, shooting straight up in the air. Yeah.
I'll say that if you see any documentaries or interviews about David Lynch, that it's my impression, and it was definitely true in this case, that the last thing he wants to do is a conventional for an audition is to see a conventional reading of the scene or performance of the scene. He doesn't like that. He basically, to put some kind of words into his mouth a little bit, I would say my impression from the way these auditions were going. And one thing it said was that it was there's don't look for any information about what this is. We're not talking about that. But the title of your character, and they were usually generic. They were like small child, parent of small child, school teacher, and mine was bartender, and John's was trucker, right? Is that what it said? Trucker. And weirdly, because I had heard the same sort of rumors that they might be, coming around here, and weirdly, it didn't even occur to me what this was. And the casting director, who's a good friend of both of us, and we weren't there at the same time, although several friends of mine were. It was one of those, old home week kind of auditions where you get to hang out and it was, the other thing that was great was you had no material to memorize or even get familiar with. So I had a slightly different experience than John did. John was asked to tell a story, and I don't know if he was prompted to have it be trucker-like or anything like that, but it turns out to be a driving story, right? And I was, the casting director was just real clear, just like she'd been saying this all day. I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm not going to answer you anything. You're not going to do anything but be interviewed by me. Okay. So, okay, sure. And I felt that what he's looking for is what people's energy is. And just what they're, so in this case, the local casting people, I'm sure part of that progress is like, boy, I really liked that one guy from the bartender. He seemed like a great guy. Is he any good, really?
Can he act?
Can he act? Or some information you get from the resume, but he just has other ways of being confident and doing the research that these people are actors. He wants to see who they are. And you hear this again and again and again. And he's got a lot of different scenarios. I have friends that were in the pilot of Twin Peaks. The pilot of Twin Peaks is loaded with the original pilot from the 90s is loaded with local Seattle talent, and very, very few of them were invited to go along. But a couple of people had, gigantic careers because of that. But those were like wonderful performance, extraordinary performance in that by a short little thing by Jane Jones as the school teacher who has to announce to the class that Laura Palmer has been killed. And riveting. Small, riveting. And he just looked at her photograph. He didn't even interview her. He cast her off the photograph. And then there's a whole bunch of different scenarios that he does with people. Another person, I can't remember who it was, talked about going in and being interviewed for the first Twin Peaks pilot. And he wanted to meet that person in person. So it was an in-person meeting with David Lynch for a small part, and never had that person read the material, just talked to him, just wanted to meet him. And so in my particular case, and I think less so than John's description of his audition, nothing I did had anything to do with the requirements of this guy. He just has to be a guy behind the bar who doesn't make much of a fuss about anything until suddenly there's a guy dead on the floor and he's incredibly horrified and has to deal with grace up to a point where it cuts. You don't know what happens after that. And I don't know what happened to me after that. But the interview was so yeah, this is a role of a bartender. And I was really feeling my oats. I was in such a good mood. And I think that's what got me the part, really. I was just on my fun guy game completely, because it was a warm summer day. I was wearing this crazy Hawaiian shirt, and I just cracked up a bunch of jokes with like Ian Bell and David Gehrman and people like this who were there at the same time. I was in a fantastic mood. I didn't learn any lines.
Did you?
And yeah, go ahead.
That's Ben and I. That's our wheelhouse. No lines. We love it.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
You had a big bushy beard. Did you bring the beard to the audition, or did they have you grow that for the role?
I brought the beard to the audition. It was in a smaller version, but because that was in the summer and the shooting took place in October. But I had the beard for a stage role I was doing at the time. And
beards are great. I love
yeah,
it.
they're great. And so anyway, the casting director said, "So this is a bartender. Have you ever been a bartender?" I said, "No, amazingly, I'm one of like 3 people I know that is an actor who has never worked in the restaurant business at all." And I may have even mentioned that I did half a shift as a dishwasher once and was so bad that they sent me home. But other than that, and then she said, "Yeah, well, but do you make drinks? Do you fix drinks?" And I said, "Oh yeah." She says, "Are you good?" And I said, meaning when you make a drink, is it a damn good drink that people like? And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Do you know this because it's your impression and you think that, or because people have told you?" And I said, "Both," with utter confidence. And then she said the same thing about cooking, about whether I was a good cook, and whether I cooked really good food that people liked. And I said, "Yes." And she said, "And do you know this from what people say, or is it just your impression?" I said, "Both." And that was about it. I was just feeling in a great mood about these questions, and the fact that I was able to answer them with such complete confidence, and that was it. And then I forgot about it. Really, I was so didn't notice this connection of anything I should feel dramatic about until I got a call from my agent in crazy circumstances because of this play I was in. It was Shakespeare in the Parks with the Wooden O Theater here in Seattle, but they were touring to Walla Walla. And I was driving my car to Walla Walla in order to do one more week with these guys in Walla Walla, and I had a friend in the car with me. And the phone rang, and it was identified as my agent. And he said, "First, I can't tell you anything about what this is about until you have signed a document." I said, "Okay, I'm driving down the road, and is it?" And I think I even said I think I even kind of dawned on me. I said, "Oh wait, now is this?" And he says, "I can't tell you anything." He says, "You can take your phone." Now, I said, "I'm driving down the road and I'm going to Walla Walla, Washington." He says, "Well, when you get there, you can print this thing out, but you can't let anybody see it. And then you have to then all you need to do, read it, sign it, show me this page and this page and this page with a photo from your phone, and then we can talk." And I said, "Okay, well, it's going to be, another 4 hours before I can even think about how I can do this." And I had to ask, and I had to my confused friend in the car with me, "What was that about? That was weird." I said, "I can't. The main news is I can't tell you what that's about." And then I asked my friends that fortunately I was staying with friends in Walla Walla, and I asked them to print out this thing from my email without
reading
having any curiosity about what it was. Yeah. And then it prints out, and it's like, David Lynch, productions across the top of it. But I think as far as I could tell, they were very, very discreet. So that's a lot about that. But I happen to love all the things about the intensity of the secrecy of that project. It's really fun to remember.
I was in
Eric and I actually
the same circumstances. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, Eric and I, we ran into each other at Trader Joe's in Ballard, and this is right after I think we both found out we got, we were just kind of dancing this little dance.
No, it's a week before.
What are you doing anything lately, or got any auditions, or just feeling each other out, right? Like, and then somehow it just gently came out. Oh yeah, there's this secret. Are you? And then yeah, and then
that's.
Yeah.
So you guys didn't even know that you were going to be in the same scene together at that point, I'm guessing.
We didn't know that.
Oh, that's amazing.
We just put it together that it was because of the character name. We knew that we were going to be with arguably the best actor in the crowd.
Yeah,
and
I would make that argument too. Definitely.
Yeah, it's funny. But anyway, it was actually, John, I think we'd known about it for a long time, been keeping the script for several weeks, but we were a week out from shooting. And so there was, and it really, we're always, we run into each other and we always ask about what's up. Yeah. And we talked around it in this way that it was like, we might be. I might see.
Yeah.
And then that turned out
it's
to
funny too
be
because
because.
Oh no, I was saying it's funny too because when I initially read the script, I'm like, I hadn't revisited Twin Peaks in a while, so I kind of forgot all the characters' names. I know. Oh, I'm hitting on Sarah Palmer, and I'm thinking, oh, is that one of the waitresses I had a crush on? Is that and I find out it's Mrs. Palmer, the mother. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Which by great fortune, I wouldn't change it for the world now, but at the time, I just was hoping that I was going to be acting with one of my younger crushes.
It's really the thing that I got struck by with Eric's story, and I don't know if you guys are on this now or not, but nowadays when somebody sends me a PDF, I can actually open it on my phone and just sign it and send it back to them immediately. And that's within how many years? Like 2-3 years tops? Or has it been 4 years? How long was it?
The show was in 2017.
So yeah, 3 years.
And
but it was
shot in 50, did we hear?
It shot in our scene shot in October of 2015.
Okay, so 5 years. 5 years
because it was a long time before it came out.
Yeah.
Having to print something out, sign it, take a photo, send it, and just having it pop up on your phone, sign it with your finger, and then send it back. It is amazing. Where technology is moving forward at an alarming rate at this point.
There was definitely DocuSign technology at that time, but there was some reason that they didn't handle it that way. But certainly it wasn't easily done on phones.
Yeah.
Were you guys?
I had done some DocuSign stuff like it.
Were you guys kept in the loop on after you had wrapped about like when the show's going to come out or anything at all? Or were you like, once we're done, we just have to watch it with everybody else?
Exactly. And when they published the cast list, the total cast list, which I was happy to be very near the top of because they were doing alphabetical order and my last name is Anderson. And I have a very funny story about this story I want to tell. I will be telling this story. I probably won't stop talking from now until I've told this story. But from that moment, then they just dropped this press release that was, these are the actors who are in it. And
I remember
before that we couldn't talk
very well.
Yes, and and the people were so relieved to be able to like to have people come up to them and say, I saw that you're going to be in Twin Peaks. And, I've got old friends in LA that are in it, and like, oh wow, and it took them about 4 days to say that they had made a bit of a mistake, and they hadn't told any of us in the cast about when the cast list publicity was going to happen, and therefore it was not we were free from our NDA, non-disclosure agreement, but the terms of that had changed. Now we could say, yes, what you read in the papers was true. I'm in it, and that's it. That's it. That is now what you can say. And there's a little quirk in the. This is not the big story, but there's a little quirk in the story that John was telling about following the plot to try to figure out when our episode was going to be, because they made it clear they were not going to tell us when we were going to appear. So we could not tell the world, I'm on next week. That was not happening. So John and I have a way of running into each other, and there was a false alarm. There was a false alarm that was like, I think I saw Grace doing something that I think we're going to be next. And I had been missing episodes occasionally, but John was going to the Comet Tavern, no, Linda's Tavern, and watching every premiere of every episode with a bunch of people. And I think I may have done one of them before, but we were so excited that he described the plot situation. I said, yeah, that sounds good. So I think I can't remember the details, but I think the big clue was in episode 12. And then we thought we were going to be in episode 13. And then us and 10 of our closest friends watched episode 13 all the way to the end. And then right at the end of episode 13, it's like, oh, okay, no way. It's not the next thing that happens. So like,
do you remember what happened at the end of episode 13? Do you remember what was, yeah.
I think I can't remember, John. Do you remember? Because the thing is what happens plot-wise, but the show is following several plot lines at once, right? So it skips. It's basically all supposedly happening in the same time period. It's all meanwhiles, but you're following Dougie and you're following this person and that person and this person, and so there was this thing about that Grace was drinking at home and watching the same loop of boxing over and over, and drinking Bloody Marys and smoking like a fiend, and then she runs out of booze and has to do something about it right now. And I can't remember, John, but it seems like maybe that happened like at the maybe there's something pointing to that she was at the end of 12. She was like running out of the booze and kind of thinking about going. I don't know. But it was a teaser, because in the next episode they spent most of the time with some other plot points, and then at the end of that episode was where you really saw her heading out the door to go to Eric Ray Anderson's Bar and Grill, which was also a very weird place. That place is already a very weird place. It has a lot of Lynchian elements as a location in and of itself, and completely independent of anything conceptual, anything deliberate.
What, Elks Point number 9 they called it or something? Elks Point in the show, and then it's a tavern in Snoqualmie.
Oh wow!
Is where it was shot. Oh.
And it's got like a real over the booths that were in the background, because the most of the action takes place at the bar, and then the area of the place between the bar stools and these booths. And these booths have, as if they're outside, have a roof over the top of them with real shingles, and as if they needed to be protected from the rain and the sun, but they don't because they're inside. And then there's a stuffed taxidermied dog sitting up on that piece of roofness.
Wild.
And there's like up on the wall, there's mugs that seem to be made out of deer hooves and stuff like that. It's really crazy. I think he decided not to feature any of that stuff.
Which is
well, this is what I want to say about the delay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hold that thought. This is what I wanted to say about the announcement of who's in the cast and who's not. is so I'm involved with an organization in Seattle called Sandbox Radio, and we rehearse for about a week on and off, and then we have a tech and a live performance on the same day. And so on that day, we're all together in the space that it's not going to be filmed, but we're going to be running the show live with sound effects, scripts, and microphones, and the whole thing, and a live audience. And we were in rehearsal, so the audience wasn't there, but the whole cast, which is like, it takes 20 people at least to do a Sandbox Radio episode. And so there I was, and this was probably spring of 2017. And early spring, I think it was, when the announcement came out. And we shot it in October of 2015. And I was there. I was working on one of my scenes, so I was not one of the people sitting around looking at my phone. But a lot of people were. I was up there working, and then kind of right at the same time, about 5 people in the cast go, "Oh, E-Ray, you're going to be in Twin Peaks?" because everybody, as soon as they found out about what the cast list was, they dropped it on Facebook. Say, "Hey, look, everybody, here's the Twin Peaks cast." And so we're looking at it, and oh my gosh, there's Alan Galley, I think, was in it, and my buddy John Billingsley from who's now in LA but used to be a Seattleite, and anyway, that's the way I found out I could say yes, I'm going to be on Twin Peaks, was everybody telling me.
Your name was the first name that I recognized on that list, because Ben can attest to this. When I get interested in a show of some kind, I absorb as much information as I can and talk about it to the point where my friends and family don't want to see the show anymore because I've talked about it too much.
When the show was airing and we knew that you were in the show, Paul would go through it multiple times to maybe see if he could pick you out of in the background or something.
Yeah. There's a scene where Albert goes to a bar, and now I don't know how I got this, but there was an episode where that happens. Albert goes to the bar, and it's where Diane shows up. And for some reason, Ben told me that you thought that maybe you were going to be in, like, oh, maybe this week's episode he might be in it. Which I would have thought
by running into John, who was following. No. I think that was one where I put that together myself. It's like, God, this would be a really good time for Sarah to go to the bar, because I didn't know anything about what led up to it. There was a point earlier in the season, I think, John, where it was like, this would be a really good time for Sarah to go to the bar. And so I was indeed telling people, not my reasoning, but I think it might be next week. And then it was like a whole month later that it came
right. And so I was looking at every single person. I was like, I thought maybe he'd have a bigger role, but maybe he's just in the bar. But I didn't see you. Here's the thing that I want to know, or I want to let you know. Dear Mr. Fantasy on the ukulele at Annex Theater is burned into my brain, and so your performance that you did,
with Mr. Liam Law.
Yeah. I now play the ukulele. Based off of that experience, I was like, this is great. I need to pick up an instrument. But anyway, so I was like, if he was in here, I would have seen and recognized him. There is absolutely no way that this is the episode. Now, if you listen back to the episode, I'm probably like, I think I saw him, but maybe not. But in my memory, I knew that it wasn't it. So when you actually were in it, then like it was instantly recognizable. That's E-Ray.
Yeah,
And,
I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of friends that assumed I was one of the guys in episode 8. They thought
Right.
for sure I looked like the, you know what I mean? Like that was it. So I think they stopped watching. I think, well, there it is. You know, he's
maybe
one of those
that's why they
freaky
didn't tell
guys.
anybody. But, but yeah, I, you know, I was in it for the long haul, obviously, but the fact that, again, the fact that I didn't recognize you instantly from that, I think a couple of things: glasses, beard. Did you have a beard then?
No.
The beard?
No,
that you
he
have
didn't.
now? Okay. And then again, the demeanor completely different. You are someone that I enjoy talking to. And this was right. I mean, politically, that guy, right place, right time for. I keep on thinking about in the one film where there's Robert Loggia gets cut off by a guy speeds and then cuts off in front of him, and then he beats him. I'm trying to think of the name of it. You know the movie. It's a David Lynch movie. Lost Highway.
Wasn't Mulholland Drive?
Lost Highway. Lost Highway is the one.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He basically lived vicariously through a character. This is what I heard. Somebody cut him off, and so he wrote this scene into the film. In the same way, she got her revenge on a type of guy that at that point in time a lot of people were mad at. It was a very public, cathartic event, I think. And so you, in that case, were the Lord of Misrule, sir.
Yeah, I think it was. It really was at the height of the Me Too movement, and you know, I kind of became the poster guy for the Me Too movement there.
Yeah, when it dropped, and not quite so much in because I mean they when we filmed it, you know, nobody would have said, well, guy, at least that's one less Trump voter, you know. And but by the time it dropped, it was after the election.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. Also, John, I can't speak right now because he's got this stocking cap on his head. But for the last many years, John keeps his hair pretty long, and that's the key feature of that guy. John was clean shaven. I had this big beard. Now it's the opposite. And that's the other thing about looking for me in the thing, Paul, is that I had that beard originally for a stage role, and then I gave them the option, and they said keep it, and they definitely thought it over, because it was after the play was over that I had a costume fitting, and I said, here's this, I can get rid of it. What do you want? And it's possible that I was still clean shaven at the audition too, now that I think about it, but I can't remember clearly. But I'm always changing this. Changing
you look different every time I see you.
Yeah.
You have energy. That's how you're recognizable.
Mentioning facial hair, I had an interesting moment with it in that I had a question about whether I should have it or not, and they wanted me to come in and have David look at it, and I'm like, okay, no problem, right? All right, we'll do. First time I met him, actually, and I was coming back actually from filming Z Nation at the time. Stopped in at the Dirtfish, where the sheriff's office is, which is the location of the original iconic shot of the sawmill in Twin Peaks, So
yeah,
one of the cool things that happened going there, the first thing I get out of the car, I see, and still to this day, it's the most kind of mind-blowing sight I saw was the sheriff's cars. It just was, there's a Twin Peaks sheriff's car, police department car in real life there. And it just was like, it's real. Twin Peaks is real. There's this car,
Yeah.
And then seeing David sitting in a director's chair, they were filming some scenes actually at the time. And with the sight of, sitting by himself with, the background was this iconic sawmill. It was just kind of mind blowing. It's like, it's kind of part of the magic of Twin Peaks is that there is something very real about it. It feels like it's really in this world, and these locations are, all the locations are incredible and so consistent with what Twin Peaks is. And so anyway, I met David, and ultimately turned out I had to shave because of the application and everything.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
It causes trouble. So, but it was just so incredible to meet him, and he's just the most humble, genuine human being that you would hope to know, and just likes to visit and talk, and very, very much a small town person, and I think many will ask how it happens, as an actor, what your experience is. And I feel like, and I'm sure Eric could attest, is that it's the respect that everybody on the set has. Everybody is respected equally, treated equally, and everyone is just so excited and humbled and honored to be there that everybody contributes. And so it's that energy that goes into it, and it really made our jobs easier. You step in and do this thing, and there wasn't many takes, and somehow the magic happens, and that's the magic and mystery of David Lynch. And for us, I feel like as many questions and as much a mystery it is to a fan, there's even more mysteries for us. Like it's even like the process itself, and I find in all interviews it's pretty consistent about what people will say from Kyle MacLachlan on down about David's process and the mystery of it. And we're just, I came to realize we're part of this family. You join Twin Peaks, it's for life, in a really great way. I mean, there's camaraderie among the actors at every level, and we are all in awe and of this mystery as well, and try to figure out, how this happened, and even the audition process, how David can just look at you and know your essence of is going to work out for this role. And 90% of the work is done right there, before you show up on set.
I'll say another thing about working with David, and I'm doing what John said I would do. I'm attesting that you just gotta believe it. What everybody says that he is. And for someone who likes to tell stories about how horrible people can be with each other and how scary and disturbing a place the universe is, and how out of anyone's control, and how someone can wind up in a world of hurt at the drop of a hat, and in addition to the very humanistic things that are in his movies, but you just. That's part of the mystery is because he has no glee in the dark side of his work. He just knows that he's trying to accomplish it, and he just is simply the nicest guy. And John's right to emphasize that he treats everybody on set is really happy. And this was my big takeaway. And he does meditation. I think he does transcendental meditation, which is a brand of mindfulness meditation. And a lot of it has to do with, I think, that practice, and a lot of this thing that I've really never seen as much in only a couple of people. There's a couple of theater directors I've had the good fortune to work with, but they were both more complicated people that were more of an emotional minefield than, fucking David Lynch, who was just the most genuine, nicest guy you want to meet. And he just very interested in what's on your mind. Anything he likes to chat between takes to, some guy that's just playing the bartender. We had some good chats, but he and being in the moment that's the main thing you're doing in that kind of meditation, is learning to not be involved in anything but the moment and what you're up to. And he's both organized his life so he can do that, and then he also, I project, does this transcendental meditation, which allows him to actually practice it and not be distracted. So he is not worried about a single thing except making this shot right now be exactly what he wants to take home to the editing booth. That's the only thing he wants. And he's uninterested in people being in awe of him. He's uninterested in where the money's coming from. He's uninterested in the PAs have to worry about schedule. You could just tell he's so taken care of by a structure that is so friendly to him, because he takes care of everybody else, that he doesn't have to pay. There is no distracting thought. And when, as I was saying, when it's not the shot, when he doesn't have a job to do, when the job that anybody's doing is just, making John look like he's had his neck chomped, then there's nothing for him to do. The makeup guys are doing that. There's no shots that we're waiting for. Now we're waiting for John to come back. And John also said he really, and I observed this, but John knows, but he really took care of him. He had to take a big fall, not a big fall. He had to take a kind of a fall off the bar stool in the makeup with all the stuff there. He had to he had to do the bleeding out and not breathe for a while, and had to kind of get it in one. And so he was he took really good care of John, the actor that he didn't know, to make sure that was going to go okay from his perspective. Incredibly kind and generous.
I feel like it's really being another aspect is just you're in the minefield of David Lynch, and David Lynch is a true artist, and you feel like you're on the canvas of this painting that a true artist is making, and that you're in this field, and that it works out. And to a person, I know that everyone, the A-list stars will say it's the most satisfying work they've ever done is working with David Lynch. And I think it's because of that aspect of, there's many great directors that aren't necessarily true artists in the sense of what it's just to his core. He's an actual artist, and it's so rare to actually work with somebody, especially on camera, that, there's so much of managing technical aspects and this and that. It's so rare to experience the feeling of artistry and that you're in the midst of artistry.
What?
We are.
That's my daughter Betty, who's yelling for us this time.
So,
great.
We're coming up. Go ahead, Paul.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
In Twin Peaks: The Return, there is a line that has always confused me. It's when Bad Coop has just collected his crew from the sort of trailer park kind of thing. And the lady who's there says, "It's a world of truck drivers." and I had no idea what "It's a World of Truck Drivers" meant. I'm thinking now, after this conversation, that maybe, just maybe, this is a meta commentary, and that she's talking about truck drivers, not in terms of the actual men and women who are driving trucks across our great nation right now, but truck drivers, the truck driver character, such as John played, and talking about that the people that are running things aren't necessarily the nicest people. That all of a sudden is how, even if I'm wrong, that's how I'm going to take it, because it makes sense now to me, especially because that's what the character's name was.
So we're coming up on over an hour.
Oh, no. Yes.
Thank you, Eric, E-Ray, and John. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm on a Discord call with my friends right now.
This
is Betty. Betty actually watched Twin Peaks: The Return with me. I don't know. I'm gonna check and see. Did you see the scene in the bar where the lady takes her face off and then bites a guy in the neck?
What?
Okay. So I self-censored some of that stuff for her. It was a while back. She's 14 now, so I think that she can take it. But this is Eric. Eric played the bartender. And
Nice.
John, can you say something?
Yeah, as you can see, my neck is healed up pretty good, so I'm okay. So don't have to worry about
John.
that.
You and I are going to watch this after I get done with the podcast.
I'll tell you.
Guys.
I'll tell you this other thing that I was so happy is that
I'm on a call with my friends right now.
Okay, see you better.
I'm gonna go.
Okay.
that just that snapshot that is John on the floor and my hero, Grace Zabriskie, looking over at me, and I'm looking at John, whatever it is. That shot is the shot that is connected to that entire episode in all contexts, and it was in the damn New York Times when they did those recaps and stuff, and I don't get tired of looking at it.
There's so much stuff that happens in that scene, just both, again, in a meta way, in the storyline and the plot. It's so pivotal, and the fact that I got to talk and that Ben didn't let me know that was going to be happening is amazing.
He signed it. We had to sign an NDA with Ben in order to have this work.
Just like how you didn't know until you were driving to Walla Walla, I asked Ben, Ben, you'll agree with this, after it came out, pretty much every episode, hey, when's E-Ray going to be on?
Yep.
You have to take people don't think about this, but the secret thing and all that, your attention does go places and it will generate stuff, but I think you have to take your attention away and forget that you wanted it for it to show up again.
For it to show up. I
That's
definitely, by the time the scene showed up, I had sort of almost forgotten that I'd done that.
Yeah. So, E-Ray, it was great talking to you. John, very nice to meet you. I again, this is Boxing Day when we're recording this. Made my Boxing Day.
Right on.
This is great.
Hey, this is an annex connection. Is that John is one of S.J. Chiro's favorite actors. He's been in a few.
Well, we love S.J.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of directors, I was the capitulator in one of her things, and she was so nice to me. We shot this thing over and over again, and all I'm doing is nodding. And I say to her in the break, I forgot how to nod. I've been nodding so often that I can't do it. And she's like, "You're fine. You're doing fine." It was great.
Did I read that you're from Illinois, or you're in Illinois, or?
Yeah. I was in Seattle for about 15 years, but I'm from Illinois. I was born in Berwyn, which is part of suburb of Chicago, kind of. But I live right now in Edwardsville, which is part of the Metro East area from St. Louis.
Got it. I'm from Iowa originally. That's where I'm born and raised in Iowa. So.
Well, there you go. I mean,
Went to the University of Iowa.
you actually could probably agree with me on this. Isn't Twin Peaks in a way Midwest, not just Northwest? Like small towns in the Midwest, very similar.
Oh, absolutely. And I was
opinion.
excited when they incorporated South Dakota in the right, like that felt natural, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. And again, someday maybe we'll talk more. It was very great to meet you, though.
Right on.
And also, thank you for contributing to probably the only episode of the GudeLaurance Podcast that resembles a podcast in any way, shape, or form.
I don't know. I can't tell the difference. This is my first podcast I've been on.
All right.
I really think people will listen to this one, Ben. It's going to be amazing.
I sure do hope so. All right. Well, again, thank you guys so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. And we will talk to y'all later.
Sounds good. Thank you. See you, John.
All right.
Hey, everyone. See Twin Peaks: The Return if you haven't. It's great. Watch the whole thing, but episode 14. Mwah.
And we're also in 2 episodes sequentially in John and I in Z Nation season 5.
Which
he's in number 1. He's in number 1. I'm in 2 and 3.
All right.
Season 5 of Z Nation. Do you guys have anything? Sorry, Ben. Anything else coming up that you want to plug, even if it's not going to be out for a little while?
Something you're allowed to talk about?
You bet. Mentioning S.J. Chiro, she directed a film, East of the Mountains, that I'm in with Tom Skerritt. And who knows how it's going to be released, when it's going to be released, but really excited about that. And it's based on a David Guderson novel, East of the Mountains. He wrote Snow Falling on Cedars. And so a lot of Northwest involvement and people, and it'll be a real, a nice, project to come out for the Northwest.
Very, very cool. Yeah, Northwest needs more film stuff. I wish the legislators would get on that.
Get on it. I will say in the pandemic, I have done music videos in collaboration with my wonderful friend Amy Zoe. And that's AIMEEZOE. And I think she has a YouTube channel that you can look up, but you can also find a number of interesting things by looking for my name. We were involved with a variety show with Terry Wiegand, and then but by week after week we'd make a video, and I'm really proud of those things. And then we also for the Christmas B-Sides and Rarities variety show this year, which you can look up and find it on YouTube. We are the house band, but of course it's online, and so our 4-song Christmas song set is packed at the end of that. But there's a lot of other cool stuff on it too.
Indeed.
And B-Sides and Rarities, something that could probably go in the show notes, I'm betting.
Yeah.
Christmas B-Sides and Rarities, live, online live stream or something like that. It's still sitting there on YouTube.
Yep.
Nothing I like better than volunteering work for Ben to do. Sorry, Ben.
That's all right. All right. We've gone pretty long tonight. Again, appreciate you guys sticking around, talking to us. This was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And thanks, Ben. This is like a Christmas gift that you've given me.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Hey.
Oh. All right. Talk to y'all later.
All right.
Bye.
Keep it wrong, everybody.
Keep it wrong.